I don't want to tell you what to eat. I want you to have more freedom and I want you to learn to choose your own foods, your proper things. Me telling you what to eat is not going to teach you anything. It's not going to give you any skills, any decision making. It's not going to teach you what is the best for your body. Only you can know and can experiment what is the right thing to do.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, and just to get it out there, I have recorded this intro probably 5 times now. I keep screwing it up, starting all over, so we're just gonna power through this one. Today's a really cool episode for you. I'm really excited to release this one. I interviewed a lot of you guys will know her as the anti-diet dietitian from Instagram. So her name is Astrid. Astrid is amazing. She is a breath of fresh air, and it's interesting. She has a similar perspective that I do and I teach when it comes to sustainable fat loss in the inner game and all this stuff, which is why I wanted to get her on the show, just to get a different perspective, even though like we share similar beliefs and stuff. But it's just a little bit different. Astrid is a coach herself. She's a dietitian. She has had an amazing amount of experience with all of this, but has a very different background herself when it comes to the stuff before like the dietetics and before like nutrition coaching and all of that stuff. And it's interesting. A lot of that came out on the show today, which was so beautiful because I didn't know we were going to go that route with the conversation. To give you guys some context into the show, like I may have a little bit of notes, but one of my favorite things is when I interview guests is to just kind of have a conversation, see what comes up and see what was meant to come out, and just being present and having that conversation and see what comes through. And those are always the best episodes. So that happened with today's episode because Astrid is amazing. Like I said, a lot of you guys follow her on social media. She's the anti-diet dietitian. So her content is amazing. It's all around sustainable weight loss and how to actually have a more holistic approach to this, but with making things completely sustainable and doable, where you're not having to do crazy diets or crazy restrictions and binge eat and all that stuff. So if you like my content, you'll love what comes out of this episode and you'll love her content. So be sure to follow her. But one of the coolest things that came out of this conversation was her opening up about her story with things like her disordered eating back when she started and things like some more body dysmorphic behavior and things like that side of stuff, that side of the darky, yucky stuff when it comes to where she's at now. Because a lot of times you would look at someone like her and go, oh my gosh, I'll never be at your level. Or, oh my gosh, you're so smart. You're so educated. How do I get, I don't even know how I get to your level with where I'm at now. But she wasn't always in that place. So she told the story of how she pulled herself out of the disordered eating, pulled herself out of the trap of diet culture and self-deprecation and a horrible relationship with food and binge eating and purging and the whole 9 yards. And now she's all the way on the other side where she's helping change people's lives. And it's been the most beautiful thing for her. And that's what I wanted to get her on, just to talk about the content around this stuff. Cause she's also one of Lane Norton's head coaches, and Lane is a hero of mine. Lane is someone I look up to a ton, and I would love to get Lane on the show. But while we're in the middle of all that, trying to make that happen, I wanted to get Astrid on the show because she, like I said, brings a whole different perspective with her life experience, her experience as a woman going through all of this. It was just amazing. So I know you're going to get a lot out of it. Now, before we get into that, I did want to give a huge thank you to the sponsors of the show. Sponsor number 1, Flex Pro Meals, because convenience is absolutely everything. I'm telling you, it's one of those things where I always have Flex Pros on me. I just saw on my computer, I just got a update from Flex Pro, like while recording this. That was kind of weird. But no, it's one of those things where having them on deck in your fridge all the time is so helpful when it comes to the unpredictability of the day-to-day while still having goals of fat loss, nutrition, looking good, feeling good, all of that. Because it's not one of those things I would never tell someone like, oh yeah, just replace all of your days worth of food with Flex Pro meals. That's not practical. But I'll tell you what, if you can replace the majority of your going out to eat, your, oh shit, I got to pop in a drive-through, your, oh shit, let me just run to the gas station and see what I can find, or your, oh shit, let me just grab a granola bar on the way out of the house. If you can eliminate that with Flex Pro, it will save you money. It will save you astronomical amounts of time, and it will make fat loss way easier because you have everything ready to go. So I would definitely check out them and what they have going on, either go to the link in the description or go to flexpromeals.com. And if you use my code Hamilton Trained, it'll save you an additional 20% at checkout, which is pretty cool. Then I do want to give a big sponsor or a big shout out to our other sponsor, which is First Form. I'm wearing one of their shirts as always. First Form is an absolutely amazing company. I apologize, my brain and mouth are not getting along today. But the thing is, we talk about it a lot, where supplements are not the end all be all. They are not everything. They are there to fill the gaps you are not getting with food. And with First Form, it just works so well and it's such a no-brainer. And they're such an amazing company. So I definitely want to make sure that your money is going to the right spots. And I don't want you to just get lost on what's cheap on Amazon, because that's usually not the best thing. But otherwise, that's it for the sponsors. Let's get into the show and I will talk to you soon. I'm glad we got it working. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Excited to see you again. It's been a very, very long time since we spoke on our live like a year ago.
I know it's crazy how fast time goes on. So what's new in your life? How have things been?
It's been pretty much steady. I continue to doing exactly the same, just busier, a bit more experienced, and yeah, life getting along, and I think progressing with my approach with my clients, and I think it's everything very similar, but I guess the more you grow, the more experience and the better your approach is, and the more you can connect with your clients. I continue doing exactly the same, but I think the experience is the one thing that sort of continues to grow over time. So I think that's where I'm at the moment.
I love that. I'm curious now that you brought that up. Is there anything over the years you've changed your mind on, that you used to believe one thing and now you don't believe that as much? I know Lane's talked about that a few times and stuff, and I've gone through the same thing. I'm curious, is there anything you've changed your mind on over the years?
I have in many, many ways. I used to be more directive and prescriptive, and that's what you learn at university when they teach you, well, you have to design meal plans and you have to tell clients what to do. And over time, as I've progressed in my career, I've realized that, yeah, that works for a very minority of people, but long term, when you want to achieve a very positive and long lasting result, you gotta negotiate with your clients and you gotta teach them, you gotta play the team approach and get them involved in decision making, just because that's the best way where they will feel empowered, they will feel included, they will have and they will take part of that choices that we're going to make for their plan. And rather than trying to change everything at once or being very, I don't know, aggressive at first when you start with someone and like telling them, well, we have to do this and this and this and this, and we're going to change this and this, it becomes so overwhelming that from the very first day, it's just like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So rather than putting them in a position where they may feel very disadvantaged or overwhelmed, you get them in a place where they can and they will feel like they can do this. They are able to achieve it and that you are with them all the way through. So, one of the things I've realized is just taking them from where they are at rather than me taking them to my level. I go down to their level and then we move from where we need to go. Rather, I feel like it is much beneficial approach for them because they feel like you're not pushing them to get to a level that they are not at just yet. And that allows you to just understand where they at and their connections with the past. Majority of the people that has a specific background on something, you realize that they have gotten maybe a trauma, a difficult past, or something that led them to where they at and the decisions they've made in the past. So I like to understand that in the first few weeks when I work with my clients as well. But I also work in a hospital where there's no much coaching that you can do. It's more that connection that you can have straight away with a patient. And it's a very different goal setting because obviously it is a sick patient or it's someone who is in a rehab setting, and it's very likely that their goals are not body recomposition or intuitive eating or improving their relationship with food, although certain things that when you speak with certain patients you want to still use the same approach of get them involved and do this in conjunction so things can be better when it comes to compliance and adherence.
Yeah. Because, well, at the end of the day, and I'm so glad you said that, because at the end of the day, and this is one of the reasons I love your content so much. And I don't get along with very many other dietitians, but I absolutely love your work. And, but like adherence and compliance is arguably the most important thing above all, right?
It is 100%. You can do whatever you want in terms of following the best, the perfect meal plan, the perfect approach, the perfect diet, keto or whatever. And if you can't adhere to it, there's no point of following something that doesn't work for you. So that's the biggest components of doing whatever you're gonna go with. Are you able to stick with it? Do you actually feel like confident you can do this, not just in the first month or in the first 2 months, but can you actually see yourself doing this for the next year or the next 5 years? Do you see yourself there? And or like just with little implementations or little steps, like do you actually feel this is sustainable? Just going from the very, very simple thing as setting with a client different action points for the week. Like, is it realistic? Is it something that you can actually do? Like, I cannot go and say, hey, I want you to do 10,000 steps, and they barely do 2,000 steps a day. So, like, that's a huge jump. And that is not going to be, it could be, and could look beautiful in paper, or like, yes, this is what I need to do. But it's fucking hard for someone who is really, really different or very far away from the actual targets. So that's what I was saying. I like to get down to the level and try to set SMART goals. So trying to be very realistic about what I want for them to achieve and that they can feel comfortable as well getting there.
That's so good. That's so good. Where now you brought you mentioned a couple times like helping clients and helping people struggling set the right kind of goals. And I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that specifically. And I'd love to hear your take on, like, for those listening, how does someone go about setting goals? Because we see so many people that you're either setting them based on like totally unrealistic expectations. They're like, I think I should lose 30 pounds in 30 days, or thinking progress is linear, or whatever the case is. But how should someone listening go about setting goals the right way?
Basically, you gotta go with what you've got and knowing yourself. It's a lot of, I don't know if that's the best approach, but I think if you are able to get up a time for you to understand your baseline to begin with, and sometimes you don't, the client itself is not even aware of how much they eat, how many steps a week they do, or how many steps a day, how much in terms of total exercise. So I get them to find their true baseline just for self awareness. When they see what the rough baseline looks like, it is much easier for us to say, if this is what you do for the most part every single day, and you have a very busy life socially or with work, and things are probably not going to contribute to do this best perfect scenario where you can lose 1% of body fat or 1% of weight every single week and you can adhere to this specific deficit. This is probably not going to be realistic for you if you want to lose 30 pounds. So what we do is try to set realistic expectations. I think if we do a very good job establishing a deficit that is going to allow you to have that flexibility, and you can easily continue to modify your body composition, adhere to a certain amount of resistance training sessions a week. If you can do that and be consistent, which is the biggest word for me, and being compliant with just this small amount of things that we can and need to implement, then I can start adjusting every week. I don't like to set goals that are very rigid. I like to be flexible and adjust over time. That's why the check ins on a weekly basis are helpful, because you see where they are at, what are they struggling with. And if what I gave them was easy, well, let's ramp it up and a little bit more. And that gives them the opportunity to also see how much is too much, or how much is maybe I can handle a little bit more, or I can handle a little bit of a more aggressive approach without making anything unsustainable. So that's where I'm at. But going back to your question in terms of setting goals, it comes back to this as the word of SMART goals. So you want to utilize sort of the same approach of making it easy, sustainable, timely, relevant. You want to have this achievable idea of, is this actually something you can achieve on a daily basis? And that, again, is it realistic for you given all the things you have on your plate? And also making it in a way that, is it really, what is it relevant to you? Like sometimes we sort of say, oh well, I want to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, but they don't have the whys truly clear. They have the very subtle and superficial whys that they're not probably strong enough to get them when they're going through the downs of this roller coaster of a fat loss phase or any body transformation journey or whatever. You will find that if your whys are not strong, once you have some dips, that's where you're going to struggle to stay compliant and stay consistent. So that's why I feel like understanding truly your whys and digging deeper as to why do you want to change? Why do you want to do this and commit to this in the first place? And if once you sort of dig in deeper and realize that actually I don't think that is that relevant as I thought it was, for me, more relevant is to just being able to function, to play with my kids, to feel good with myself. And if on top of that you want to look good naked, hey, that's fine, that's perfect. But you have a stronger, if the speed that you're moving towards your goals is not as quick, but you're focusing on getting that momentum, and you're also feeling power, you're getting results slowly, that that makes you be confident that you can get there, even if it's not at the speeds you ideally want it. So you sort of need to also catch up with your body. We have expectations, but our body maybe is not in the right place to get to your expectations. So I think one of the things I teach my clients is you want to learn to get to the level of your body capabilities, allow it to catch up with your expectations, and try to sort of find a middle ground where you can move together, rather than feel like this is where you want to be, but your body's like, nah, I'm not there, I'm not going there. So and this happens a lot with clients, like they have been dieting for years, chronically dieting for so long. They're eating about 1,300 calories and they still want to lose fat, and they're expecting me to just put them in a deficit. Like, do you know how unsustainable this is? You have a life, and on top of that you are already eating way too low. It is my duty to take you responsibly to a much better place where you can find that you know that you can eat more and be more consistent, because what you're doing is you're eating very, very low, but when you have the opportunity to overeat, you're going to eat more. And that's going to throw you out of the window, because that may, well, snowball with more days. And you probably feel like you're dieting all the time, but you're actually, when you look at the entire picture and you look at sort of like consistency, you're actually consistent 50% of the time rather than 80% of the time. So for me, that is really, really important to get them to understand that I'd rather you to be in a much better place initially, understand that you can have the capacity to allow yourself more food, and just allow yourself to eat and enjoy life. But it's really hard when you have clients that have like a long-term eating disorder. They feel like they are not capable, they're not worthy to get more calories, or they are not able to do that because they don't like their body. And we need to sort of go deeper into phases. Everything in life needs phases. So we need to focus on a sort of healing phase, not just with your body, but with your relationship with food, just allowing your mind to know what you are capable of and what you're allowed to have in your life, and allow yourself to have that opportunity. Obviously, you may not lose the amount of body fat you want right now, but I promise if you're actually 100% more consistent than what you were doing before, your body's going to change by default just because you're more consistent, and you're likely eating better because you're in a much better place. So that's where, sort of like back to your point of setting goals,
No, I love that.
it is not a straight answer. It
Yeah.
requires a lot of deep digging to understand what the client wants, and just get them to find their true whys and make them realistic. Basically, that's a summary after the long explanation.
I love that. Well, and that's the beauty. I'm so glad you went into it like that. Like the podcast is called Dieting from the Inside Out because it's all about the deeper work. It's not, we don't fuck with the surface level bullshit. And it's and I love how you took that. Cause what's funny, like even the phasing, that's literally how we coach. Like our very first stage of coaching is called Dieting from the Inside Out, because most people who come inside our ecosystem have struggled with binge eating, sabotaging, 1,200 calorie diets, diet culture for decades at a time. So I'm really glad that you brought up like, hey, we need to hold back a little bit on trying to lose fat faster, and we need to get the groundwork laid. Now, I'm curious, what would you say to the person who, because this is one of the things that we see the most, is the person who knows they need to do like a reverse diet or a diet break. They know 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories isn't sustainable, but man, they are scared shitless because all they've ever known is the 1,200 calorie diet for the last 10 years. So what would you say to the person that's scared? They know what to do. They know they're supposed to eat more. They're just scared shitless to do that.
It is a very tricky situation because every person is going to react different. Some people that I've worked with, even though they're super scared, they also try to be very compliant and trust the process. So somehow I get them to trust, and they do it. But this is just a very minority of people that, like, okay, if you tell me so, I'm gonna do it. I have another group of patients and clients that it is a very big battle in the lead to implement something like this. However, I try to make it in a way that it may not necessarily align with the theory of what you should be implementing when you talk about or refer to a diet break or a reverse diet. So obviously, when you think about the reverse diet, you want to calculate the current true maintenance calories and get them there. But if you have been having someone eating 1200 calories and their true maintenance calories, let's say 17, 1800, that is a 600, 600 calorie difference. And I'm not going to be able to get them to eat that straight away. They're not going to trust it. It's just going to be too much. So slowly, that's it where I think about that baseline and understanding, okay, this is where you're at. I tell you that your reverse calorie diet to start with is 17, 1800 calories. You're going to say goodbye. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry.
Right.
So initially, if you understand where they at, and obviously you understand the background, the challenges, how perhaps fucked up they are in the inside, and their mindset is not in the good place, you gotta understand that there are you gotta be slow. You gotta say, hey, let's take that step by step, and we're going to do this. Okay, if you're eating 1200 calories, let's aim for 1300 calories and see how that goes. Even if it's not taking you anywhere where I want you to be, but it is the first step. And the person starts gaining confidence and trust on the process because, oh, this was not too bad. What if I just go next week because I was able to stick to the 1300? Let's try 1400 calories and see what happens. And then you start
Baby steps.
baby steps. And it is the best way to get them to get to where you want them to be, but also allow them to feel confident as they go. And you give them the opportunity for the body to adjust, because again, it is something that if they've been truly used to eating that low amount of calories, it is very likely if you put them on a 1700 calories, they're going to gain weight the first week, at least 3 pounds. Obviously, it's not fats necessarily, but the body's so used to certain amount of calories that they are going to retain a lot of water. They are going to feel heavy, fluffy, bloated, all these words that I hear all the time, just when they increase their calories. And that is probably going to play against the whole purpose of doing this, because they're going to get very scared about it. They're going to say, no, if I just ate that amount, I'm going to blow. And like I'm going to end up rolling instead of walking. And that's, and that's not the idea of trying to teach them
Right.
that. So you go slowly
Yeah,
and
I love that.
you take baby steps.
Yeah, well, I mean, because if you go too fast, even if they could, if it affects, like we talked about a little bit ago, adherence and compliance, then it's not worth doing, right? Even if we could jump them going from 1200 to, let's say, 1500, if we know they're going to have a mental breakdown, freak the fuck out, and cancel coaching or cancel and like fall off the planet or go and restrict a lot. Well, that defeats the whole purpose. It has to be, I love that. It has to be that balance of practical, sustainable, where they can adhere to it, but also it's baby stepping towards the ultimate goal of, in this case, a full blown reverse diet. I love that.
Yeah. And it could be with diet breaks, or reverse diet, anything that has to do with gaining or increasing calories. Because a little, I don't know if that happens with you, but the majority of women and the chronic dieters are always thinking that they don't deserve eating more, that they need to be on a diet, or they always need to be eating low calories. So when you get them to eat more calories, they just cannot believe it. They cannot believe. And some people, I've gotten some girls that they have gotten to an amount of calories that they never thought they would be eating, and the body composition gotten to a much better place. Like, how is this possible?
Yep.
Like,
Every time.
it is so it's so amazing.
Why do you think that is though? Like why? Like I agree with you because we do the same thing, and we get like all of our clients get to that point where it's like they go, how have I had, this is the most success I've ever had, but I'm eating the most I ever have with the least amount of stress and friction and rigidness. Like when they think something, they say they feel like they're getting away with something bad. So I'm curious from your perspective, why do you think so many women feel like they don't deserve to eat more, or they feel like is it just like a societal thing, or why do you think most women feel like they're not allowed or supposed to or deserving or worthy eating enough food?
I think a big strong um, answer is their childhood and their background, their story, their diet and history, as well as, yeah, like society. And if you're someone who is in sort of in the industry, or if you're someone who have that pressure of feeling like you need to have certain body to fit in, then you think the only way to maintain that body is to live in miserable to have that body. And I can tell it because I used to be that way when I started my I back home. I used to be a sports nutritionist. Once I finished my bachelor's degree, straight away after my graduation, I was very successful in my social media and I had a lot of clients looking at me. But I also was a personal trainer, and I had that weight on my shoulders that I needed to look fit and I needed to look a certain way to be appreciated, accepted, and admired. Because who is going to look or listen to someone who is not fit? If you're a personal trainer or if you're a dietitian, you need to look certain way to represent and show that you know what you do. So I had this huge pressure on me, and that led me to be super restrictive. I was super obsessed with my nutrition. I was obsessed with exercise. I thought I needed to train 6, 7 days a week. I was always overtrained. I was purging, and I had super unhealthy relationship with my body and and food. And I had never thought about flexible dieting. I thought there were bad foods and that anything that was not healthy, it was going to make me fat, or it was going to, like, I literally, this is the power of your brain. Um, and thinking, what when if I was eating a piece of cake or a piece of chocolate in that moment, I automatically started feeling like my legs were thicker. I was already fatter. I had cellulite in my arms. Like, it was something in your mind that automatically you feel it in your body, and it's 100% something that is not true. But that's the picture you're painting in your brain, and that's you're somatizing all those things. I moved to Australia 10 years ago, and I had to sort of reset and dig deeper into my whys and understand, hey, I was doing all of that shit for someone else, but not for me. I was trying to fit in, and now I'm no one again. I have to start from zero. What the heck am I? What am I doing? And it was a really, really difficult time for me to sort of understand, what if I just allow myself to have more flexibility and I stop dieting? I may gain weight, but who cares now? No one cares. No one is like, no one knows who I am. So I can allow myself to have that space. And it took me about 3 years where I was just allowing myself that, giving that unconditional permission to have things. I was no longer purging. I did gain some weight because obviously what I was doing before was not sustainable and was just harming my relationship with food and everything, my mental health. And I got into flexible dieting. I got more into research. I started meeting a lot of people that were preaching that nutritional balance and that you can have that 80/20 rule and that consistency is better than perfection. That you can do things and achieve them as long as you can adhere to them for the long term. there's no bad foods, that every food can fit in a healthy diet. It's all about portion sizes. It's not about the specific food. So there's no bad foods, but bad portion sizes. That's what I say. And
That's amazing. I love that.
that's the thing. And I say all this all the time. Like, there's no bad food. There is just bad portion sizes. If you eat whatever, but you are still able to fit it in into your nutrition and have a balance, obviously, you can still fit it in, and that's totally fine. Uh, and I also understood that you can do, you don't need to train 7 days a week to be fit and to look the way you want to be. You need to be smart about your training. Just find the right amount of volume, the intensity. Don't start jumping around and do burpees, and then that, because it's more
Right.
intense, it's going to be better for you. Or just tracking your calories in how much you burn to see how much you need to sort of compensate with your eating. So don't do that. So I stopped doing so much things in the past that they were just everything a chronic dieter would do. So when I look at my past, and I look at my clients coming to me and say, I'm struggling with this, I've been there. I've struggled so much as well. And I guess that's the beauty of going through something and you can relate so much, and provide that compassionate and understanding advice, but also make them feel like you also have gone through something hard. And I guess we all do.
Hmm. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. I think a lot of ladies listening to this are like, oh, "Yep, I feel like that. Yep, I eat a chocolate and I literally feel my pants get tighter," which we know is just a mind trick. So for you, when you fixed all of that, for you it was a matter of, a lot of it sounded very logical. You're like, well, this is what chronic dieters do, and I don't want to be a chronic dieter, so I'm going to get away from that. Started diving into like the science and the research behind like why no food is inherently bad and why anything works, and then slowly started to fix those relationships with all of that stuff, and then that led to where you're at now.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I was studying, doing, and actually reading about things and doing more research, because I guess it's the societal and the old style nutrition that you study dietetics because you're going to help. For the most part, when you study dietetics, you are targeting a specific population that, for the most part, they will be sick. And you gotta prescribe certain things, and you gotta tell clients, well, this is, you have to get away of certain foods because they're not good for your condition. And again, it's all relative, and dose makes it poison. And even if you have certain conditions, that is not necessarily a strong reason to avoid certain foods. Again, it comes back down to how often are you eating it and how much are you eating it. And that is a very good example is diabetics. Diabetics can have a very, very healthy diet, allow themselves to have things that they never thought they would be able to have, but it comes back to that portion size. Are you able to have a chocolate? Absolutely. Can you eat a kilo of chocolate? Probably not. That's gonna
Yeah, I love that. One thing I say a lot is, because I'm going to steal the what you said, where you said there's no bad foods, there's just bad portions. I love that. One of the things that I say is, it's the dose that makes poison lethal. So
yeah,
that's the one I use a lot. But like nothing is inherently bad. It still blows me away. Like one of the things that I say, I've been saying a lot more lately is that like it's 2023, like, and the fact that people still think carbs store fat is just beyond me. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like so many people still live in the age of, like, back when Arnold Schwarzenegger was competing, like that's like back in like 1965 is where so much nutrition is at, where most people think like women should only eat 1,200 calories, carbs are bad, 6 meals a day, only 20 grams of protein at once. It's just crazy.
it is. It is absolutely absolute. And and so difficult to change the mind on so many people that truly believe that. And I would say one more thing that has been amazingly life changing for me and for my clients is that allowing yourself to unconditionally have something that you thought,
Mm,
and doing mindfully, like you actually slowing down and getting the time to focus on that food that one time. It is just game changing when you sit down, put all your senses, you taste the food, you try to connect with how you feel. Like I do that probably every 3 days. I grab a Kit Kat just before bed, and I grab like just one bar, and I literally just, no one is around. I can just actually concentrate, and I just smell it. Like I just do that so slowly, but it's so pleasant and feels so nice that with just one bar, I don't even eat the 2 bars. It's just the little one. It melts. I let it melt in my mouth. I just feel every single aspect of that chocolate, and it feels so good. Like knowing that, I wish I could have known that like 10 years ago. Like
right, right.
how good would it have been that I was allowed myself to have something that was bad and give me that pleasure without binging on going over. Actually have my this is when you get to a good level of good relationship with food. You can actually have the prohibited foods that made you, or you felt they were a trigger in the past, in your fridge. Like there's all in
All the
there.
time.
I have everything that before I could have not control, or like I would binge on it every now and then if I had it in my fridge, is in there. And sometimes I actually have to throw them away because it goes off and I haven't
It goes
eaten.
bad too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, and like, how can you let that spoil a piece of chocolate that's been there sitting like 2 years? Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like I needed it right now.
I'm so glad you brought up the thing about the Kit Kat because I feel like so many people, when they do eat the food that they struggle with, that they deem as bad or whatever, they're not present at all. They're anything but enjoying it. They're eating it, but their brains are either in the future and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have. This is going to make me store so much fat. Or then they're thinking about in the past, they're like, oh, I'm going to be so, I'm so remorseful. Why'd I do that? And then they're not even enjoying the thing that they wanted because their brain is anywhere but the present moment of, hey, this is okay. There's nothing wrong with this. Because then most people have guilt flood them and remorse and regret and self-deprecation. Like I'm a piece of shit. I'm weak. I shouldn't have this. This is bad. And they're anything but present with the thing that they want. Um, and it just ruins everything where there should be no guilt. There should be no remorse. There should be no feelings of I'm weak, I'm soft, I shouldn't have this, this is bad. There shouldn't be any of that. And I love the fact that you said that you now have all these foods in your fridge all the time and you can have them whenever you want versus I think most people, I feel like where most even coaches go wrong is right around now they say, oh, just get all the foods out of their house. It's like that still is feeding the problem of, oh, that's bad versus healing the relationship with food. And then you live in true abundance.
I think it is like every phase, every healing phase, or every healing process have its phases. And perhaps at the beginning of a healing phase, you may need to get rid of everything and just focus on the one thing you need to focus on. Or maybe it is about initially saying no to all of these things until your mindset is in a better place. And then you start adding things back and you start getting that confidence that you can have that self control. But sometimes the issue seems to come from that root cause of feeling hugely deprived and having that endless restriction with yourself and certain foods. And this is very likely to happen. And I use this analogy when you're with a boyfriend and you meet someone and this is like a secret relationship and it's like prohibited. Every time you see this person, it's like, well, you do lots of things and you desperately, like, you feel like you have this scarcity mindset that you might not be able to see them again. Is that strong, intense, passionate encounter? But what happens when you get married or when you have a very serious relationship? The love is still there, the respect, the passion is still there, but the intensity is like, goes down because it becomes regular, it becomes accessible, it becomes normal. Same happens when you allow yourself to have whatever you want, it becomes a normal thing. Oh, yes, I can have this tomorrow if I want, or I can have it tomorrow, I can have it now, but do I really need it now? Do I really want it? And it's having that interoceptive awareness of how much do you want this? Is it worth it right now? Do you relate this to your goals? Is that what your body really needs? Or do you actually need to go to sleep? Or just go for a walk? Or what is your true needs? Just coming out of you that needs that attention? So it's just thinking a bit deeper, having that awareness of, I'm actually not hungry. I am just bored. Or I'm sad. I'm angry. And I was just unconsciously looking for pleasure in food. But is it going to solve or improve the root cause of the problem? Probably not. Am I okay to still eating it anyways? Yeah. Or no, it's not going to align with my goals. And then I feel guilty and then it snowballs another problem. That's sort of something that I find that it's interesting to work on. And that it is a skill and it takes time. That's why it is something that you won't get perfect at in the first few weeks. It is something that is going to have become easier and easier the more you do it, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. So let me ask you this, and kind of wrapping things up here. Where does someone start? Like someone listening to this, that's like, okay, all I've ever done is all the trendy bullshit you guys just talked about. All I've ever done is starve myself. I've never had success with this, and I've been doing this forever. Where do I even start? What would you say to that person?
I would say you have the you always have the option to get help, reach out to someone who may be able to provide an external perspective of where you're at. Sometimes what happens is we try to do that on our own. And if we have the wrong foundations, we're still going to try to build that empire, but our foundations are weak. So sometimes we need to change our foundations and we need to find someone who can analyze what the foundations are because we don't really know. We have just been building this forever, but we don't have a background in design, in specific materials that are going to make a strong that foundation. But if you get an expert that is going to be able to assess, well, these foundations are actually very weak. We need to use this material and we need to do this approach to make that stronger. You can start fixing those areas and start getting or strengthening that foundation. Now, when you like, that's what I talk about, a foundation or a phase where you're working with your baseline and sort of addressing the weakest areas of that. And then once you're in a better place, then we can start building from there. So ideally, you want to do a very self-reflective, deep analysis of where you're at, being very honest about your situation, not just with someone else, but with yourself, and be clear about what you want, be clear about what you need, and then identify whether you're going to continue in the same cycle if you continue doing it your way, or whether you need external perspective or external uh, supervision or someone who might be
Accountability or something like that.
yeah, someone who might be able to come in and say, from my perspective, this is what you what you are doing. This is what could be improved without judging. And obviously, that's the other point of reaching out is sometimes it's a bit challenging because you don't know who is going to be the person will be able to you will be able to trust without feeling judged or feeling like how can I trust someone? All of these things, I think they are terrible. I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. So it is reaching out to people like you, Jared, or myself, or someone who is able to come with, hey, this is who I am. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be telling you what you're doing wrong. I'm here to be with you, to support you from where you're at. And you're never going to hear from me, hey, you're doing this wrong, or you're this, you're that. No, I 100% see where you're at, and I want to work with you to help you to get where you need to be. And sometimes my opinion and my direction may not be something you want to hear because it's fucking hard. It's really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But we need to start somewhere, and that's why we do baby steps, and we just do it in a way that it feels doable, sustainable, and you feel shit, I can do this.
I love it. That's so good. Astrid, this has been such a great conversation. I can't believe the time has gone by so fast. What's kind of stuff, let me ask you this. What kind of stuff are you working on right now that you're excited about? Like, is there anything going on with you and what's in all of that you're excited about right now?
I'm trying to finish up I'm trying to build somehow a spreadsheet that allows me to get people to design mm, their own meal plan, but it's mostly like using exchanges and things that they can have a flexible meal plan that they can use by
Oh, nice.
it's just at the beginning, but I find that every time I get a client, hey, tell me what to eat. And I don't want to tell you what to eat. I want you to have more freedom, and I want you to learn to choose your own foods, your proper things. Me telling you what to eat is not going to teach you anything. It's not going to give you any skills, any decision making. It's not going to teach you what is the best for your body. Only you can know and can experiment what is the right thing to do. I can always share with you and give you my feedback, my perspective, or some swaps you can do to make a meat specifically a bit more filling or higher in protein, much more nutrient dense. But I'm not going to like get into your diet and say, hey, change this, change that, eliminate this, or just eat what I'm telling you to eat. So I'm trying to design a way, a format that people can exactly know how many calories a day they need, how many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs and fats, and being able to translate that into portion sizes and food groups. And they, from those food groups, what can they do with those food groups? Distribute them throughout the day. And then once they have that distribution of those food groups, well, what are the options? What is a serving size of this food group? If I have six portion sizes for, let's say, carbohydrates, then you have a full group of carbohydrates that, let's say, one serve is going to be about 15 grams of carbohydrates. And if you have six serves, then you have potentially you could put two together and you have 30 grams of carbohydrates. And you don't necessarily have to choose one food. It could be 15 grams of rice and 15 grams of bread. And you still have your 30 grams of carbohydrates. So it gives them a lot of flexibility, and they have the autonomy to choose their own things and learn, oh, this is what 15 grams of carbohydrate looks like. Oh, interesting. Or like one slice of bread is going to be about one serve. If you have two slices of bread, it's going to be two serves. So every time they eat a sandwich, they know roughly this is about 30 grams of carbohydrates just by themselves. Cool. So they learning as well about portion sizes without tracking.
That's so cool. That's awesome. That'll be cool once that comes out. That's super dope. Where can people find you? Like after they go here and they're obviously if they're going to want to learn more about you and whatnot. So where can people find you?
My Instagram is the best place they can find me. That's where I'm the most active on, anti-diet underscore dietitian. Also, you can find me in my TikTok as well as Twitter or like my YouTube that I've gotten a few interviews in there, just slowly growing. But
There you go.
I'm getting there.
I love it. Well, I'll be sure to put that stuff in the show notes. That way it's easy for people to find you. Thank you so much for doing this. This was amazing. I appreciate you sharing your story and everything. So
You're amazing, Jared. I love your approach and I love what you're doing as well. And I'm always look up to you and say, this guy is amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We'll speak soon.
Bye bye.
And we are back. Thank you so much once again for tuning into today's episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. It means a ton to me. I know if you stuck around this long, you got a lot out of today's episode with Astrid. Be sure and follow her. Be sure and shoot her a message and tell her, yo, I heard you on Jared's podcast. It was dope. Oh my gosh, that kind of thing. It would mean a ton to me. Now, before you go, I do have a few housekeeping items. Number one, be sure and subscribe to the show. If you are not subscribed to the show, on all platforms, on the podcast website, dietingfromtheinsideout.com, on the YouTube, wherever you're listening to this on, iTunes, Spotify, whatever, be sure you're subscribed to the show. You don't want to miss out on the stuff I have coming. I'm telling you, if you could see into the future, you would subscribe like a month ago. That's number one. Number two is if you aren't quite sure where to get started with all of this fat loss stuff and you're just kind of, I don't know what to do, I would really encourage you going through my fat loss checklist. It's my mini course. It's a 5-day emo course that will make fat loss so simple for you. And you'll be like, where was this my whole life? It's at the link in the description. I also have access to my Fat Loss Simplified Facebook group because you need a support system. You need a home base where you can go to where you are not alone and you're not the crazy dieter and you have the right kind of people around you. And if you like this kind of content, you will love what I have going on in that group. Be sure and join that. It's called Fat Loss Simplified. Either search that in Facebook or hit the link below. And then if you're listening to this and you are in a place where you're like, I think I need extra help. I think I need a higher level of accountability, a higher level of mentorship, a higher level of just help. And you want that and are ready for that and are coachable. I would highly encourage you applying for coaching because that's the best, fastest, simplest, least friction way to get from where you're at to where you want to be, because you're basically buying time. You're buying someone else's experience. You're buying a sustainable, basically the fastest, most sustainable approach to shortcut and fast track your results. With the least amount of friction possible, so you don't have to go through all the hell that we can show you. So there's a link for that below. And because you're coming from the podcast, I have a whole bunch of free stuff for you if you do get accepted into coaching. Like a lot. Like you'll be like, I have about like $4,000 worth of free stuff that I would be giving you just for getting. Just for joining coaching and applying and getting accepted from the podcast, because I hold a very special place in my heart for my podcast listeners. So that's down there as well. And I'm always here if you need anything. My email's down there. I always say I'm a DM away or I'm an email away. So that is it for today's episode. Be sure and keep a lookout for the future episodes coming. I love you and appreciate you. I will talk to you soon.